Okay. All right, good evening. It is 6:30 PM. It is Thursday, August 24th. This is the Olentangy Local Schools Board of Education regular meeting. I'll call the meeting to order. Mr. Jenkins, please call the roll.
Mr. Lester?
Here.
Dr. Dabrico?
Here.
Dr. Wise?
Here.
Dr. Wallach?
Here.
Mr. O'Brien?
Here. Please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay, I'll now entertain a motion to approve the agenda as written. We have no amendments or changes, correct?
Correct.
So moved.
Have a second, please.
Second.
All right, any discussion on the agenda? All right, seeing none, please call the roll. Mr. Jenkins?
Dr. Dabrico?
Yes.
Dr. Wise?
Yes.
Dr. Wallach?
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien?
Yes.
Mr. Lester?
Yes.
All right, we'll go right to the president's report. So I have a few comments, and I'll open it up to the rest of the board. So tonight, we have the safety and security update by Mr. Swazi. I think it's important to note, well, as much as we've invested in the physical security of the buildings, vestibules, and et cetera, and I don't want to steal Mr. Swazi's thunder, I think it's also important to note that we've also invested the resources in having someone with the experience and expertise of Mr. Swazi in the district to help us with long-term security and safety plans so that should something happen, not only are we prepared, but we're prepared to react, right? So I think it kind of goes quietly unnoticed, but it's an important investment that we've made to make sure that our kids, our students feel safe when they're in our buildings. And if they feel safe, they're more likely to learn and be successful. And so, so I think tonight's an important discussion on safety and security. And also, we have an important partnership with the Delaware County Sheriff, which we've enjoyed for as long as I've been on the board. The Delaware County Sheriff's Department has been a great partner with us, both with resource officers as well as when we have issues. And so we thank them for their partnership and appreciate them spending some time with us tonight. We also have professional development discussion with Mr. DiTilio, which is fantastic because our job is to make sure that we have the resources to make our teachers as good as they can be. And so professional development is an important component of that. So with that, I'll open it up to any updates from other board members.
The only thing I will add is Thursday morning was at Berlin for their pep rally.
Mhm.
That is a major league presentation for people that are there. They didn't do that.
Convocation.
I think that's what they call it. It was more like a pep rally. It
It's their-
was
their
all
first day.
things clause.
Yep, first
It
day of
was,
pep rally.
School.
First day of
yeah,
school.
first day of school, sorry, Thursday morning. Then drove by and saw, I'll tell you what, when you look at, because I just wanted to see what the modulars look like. Just wanted to see. And I see a steady stream of people coming out of those before school started to make sure every detail was taken care of. And you definitely want your safety and security person to come out of there. And I saw him and I wasted too much of his time asking him questions. And I'm just thankful, and we'll say that over and over tonight, thankful that place was ready to go. And that's a credit to the Olentangy team. The pictures of people carrying everything out was great. So great start to the school year. Security over and over and over. One of the first things they told us last night at Liberty was all the preparation they do to make sure kids are ready. So I feel like my two most important things in my life are my kids and they're safe. So thank you.
All right. Anything else? No? We'll go to our first presentation item. So it's a report on safety and security. Mr. Swazi, as well as the Chief Deputy Wiseman from Delaware County Sheriff's Office.
Thank you, Mr. O'Brien and members of the board. Appreciate the acknowledgement. Again, our partnership is the first thing I always like to highlight. This is Chief Wiseman. He, one of his duties as he's in charge of all the school resource officers. He has a few more duties as well. Towards the end of the presentation, I speak specifically about the SRO program, and if by any means you have any questions on the SROs, if I can't answer it, Chief Wiseman's here. The sheriff couldn't make it tonight. He had a prior engagement, but I did speak to him earlier today, and again, he just wanted me to highlight the partnerships as well. Again, these are some of the associations I have the privilege of working with. The Governor's School Safety Committee, the Joint Terrorism Task Force, Delaware County Fire, and police associations. I met with them all today. Chief Horitzik's retirement from Powell Police was there. And it's just good to, again, have those relationships and partnerships and people I've known for years and new people I continue to meet. One thing I will do under this slide in my notes, I was authorized by my former employment to update you regarding the swatting hoax that we had at Olentangy High School. This was back in the spring. So FBI Cincinnati Joint Terrorism Task Force positively identified a Romanian juvenile who was responsible for approximately 200 to 300 hoax calls across the U.S. from January through June. We were one of them. FBI Cincinnati JTTF's investigation identified this individual and used overseas foreign law enforcement partners to effectively disrupt this individual's hoax threat activity to the United States. So that was a direct result of us being on the victim end, if you will, of that in our partnership in getting that phone number to the FBI, and then they took it from there. Just to highlight some of the safety grants, this is my 5th year starting with Olentangy here in October. Total of just shy of $2 million, with the biggest one I believe Mr. Gordon announced that when we got it back in the spring. Of that money, I just wanted to point out to the board some of the bigger ticket items. We spent $163,000. This was board approved back in May 9th to upgrade all our classrooms' phones. So now all our classroom phones can dial out 911. They have some other features where a teacher can make an all-call page to the whole building in an emergency, as well as directly dial in to the front office. That was taken up by Rob Sexton's group. We're in the process of replacing the Orange Middle School PA system, which was outdated. Again, big ticket items, we're talking $36,000. Did reimburse to the capital budget $41,000 for the bollards or the concrete benches. I'll show you in a minute here. And as well as a reimbursement back to the district of $43,500 for access control cards. So we do have money. We've reimbursed the district back some, and obviously the remainder we're going to continue to make our improvements of. So that was a picture I showed in my last presentation last year. You could see the tire marks. The guys put them down like right before the board meeting so I could show you a picture. And like Dr. Daberkow pointed out, guess which school had to gussy them up just a little bit this year. So, no surprise, I got that picture, about 5 seconds before it was posted on social media. So, I'm glad that they're being utilized to enhance the address of 3140. In case you did not know where that school was.
I do think it's important to note
Yeah, I'll go
that you
back to it.
put like security provisions in place without it being like dominating, right?
Yeah.
They're in there in a subtle way, they serve a purpose.
Right.
But then we can also do it in a way that it also adds to the culture of the.
Thank you. Yeah, we that was purposefully done. The kids can, sit on them, have a bench or whatever, but they, Up in Berlin, they even match the school's colors, so.
Double blue.
All right, some of our preparedness stuff, I'll highlight. We conducted our tabletop exercises from August 7th through the 10th. Did a safety briefing to all the food service staff August 15th, and upcoming the bus drivers at our first PD day on September 18th. So again, summertime isn't, a time for us to really take too much time off. We're preparing the staff for the next school year. New Teacher Academy. I was quite surprised. We do this every year for all the new teachers coming in. It's a presentation in conjunction with the school resource officers, and then we show them some practical applications in the classroom. And I was not prepared for the 183 in attendance, so we shattered our normal number of about 100. And when I went into the auditorium, I was like, obviously Vince and his team was there all week for New Teacher Academy, but I walked in and I was quite shocked at how many, and this is all staff, right? New administrators, new folks. We give them, which was formerly known as ALICE, but it's now commonly referred to by the Sheriff's Department as active aggressor training. Again, just to highlight, we still have our assessment and care teams. We work in coordination with Alicia Barron's group and the social workers and the guidance counselors. There was a March 23 state mandate under House Bill 123 to have these teams in place at the middle school and high school level. Just so you know, we've been doing this since 2019, and we included our elementary schools as well. So every school has an assessment and care team to try and help those individuals out. Visitor management system isn't new. We got it fully implemented last year. However, what I would like to do in the future here is look at possibly incorporating the students' IDs. We're going to try a soft rollout, I believe, next semester, so like after winter break. The system is capable now of the students, and more than likely we'll try this with just the middle school and high school students. Again, preparing them for their next journey in life, and by having their school ID badge, if they're late or tardy, they can scan it into the system. It'll update our attendance system, which is PowerSchool, and it also prints out the tardy badge. So again, just trying to streamline that vestibule process at the front of the building. Again, here's where I talk about the school resource officers. And again, Chief, if you have anything to add, feel free. I don't have to take the whole mic. We currently have 7 for our 26 schools, and this fall, hopefully, maybe spring, October, I don't want to,
Hopefully around
September, October.
September, October, we'll have 3 more SROs joining the staff also that you allocated funding for. We just have trouble, like a lot of people, getting people hired into academies. We've already done all the interviews, we've already recognized who those 3 employees are, so we're just waiting for our new employees to come off of our field training officer program, which should be September, October, and then we'll plug them in. At that point, there'll be 10 SROs. Inside that 10 would be 4 at the high schools, the other 6 are at the middle schools, with elementaries aligned that way also. For our office, we've also added 2 sergeants on board at our level for management purposes because of having so many. And we have 1 SRO specifically for Olentangy because of being 10 SROs there that works with Joe on a, let's say, daily basis inside that to try to manage that workforce.
Thanks,
So,
Chief.
so
Sure.
if we have 10, how many SROs are you managing across?
17.
17 total
So-
across the county?
So 17 across the county. In school year 23-24, we have a request for 6 additional SROs throughout the county also. So the SROs for the county on this, that doesn't include the city of Delaware's 2 SROs,
Okay.
or also Westerville, Genoa Township doesn't include them either.
Okay.
So we have 7, Sheriff's Office has 17, we have 2 sergeants that oversee that 17, there's
Yeah.
a lieutenant also in that hierarchy that help us.
And then that's a shared expense, right? We pay half, they pay half, which
50-50.
again,
Yes.
evident of the partnership.
Yes, so we have a contract with the school that comes through. The contract is, fiscal can get real deep, but the easiest way to say it is, it's the base wages of a deputy sheriff's wages, and then that is split 50-50 between us and the schools. And that's the same contract everybody in the whole county has that we have. And inside that, there's some other little build-outs for overtime and things like that also, but I'm not sure if I did that justice or.
You did it wonderfully. Perfect.
Perfect.
And then we bill monthly also, so it's billed monthly, and so as the other SROs that come on board, that's when the billing would come in place there. The contract's a 3-year contract, and then we renew it and talk to everybody about what's working and what's not, and making sure there's any laws that change that. We have an MOU and also an IGA. The difference between those is what we actually do, the other one is, by state law, we have to have certain things in place there too to meet those requirements.
So, yeah, just curious, because, I mean, we certainly see it from the school perspective,
Yeah.
but I'm just, curious from your perspective, how is that program working? Are the people that are assigned to that, happy with the assignments?
Yeah, that's, they're very happy with the assignments. Every time we went out, I just hired, when I say hired, we just had 6 new SROs for the whole county. So that's a lot of people for positions. We had people apply for every position. We had people that we didn't also take at that position also. The people that are in the SRO positions, it's a position they want to be in. So that's the other thing, is they want to be in that position. Then part of the interview process is we have Joe, and we also have some building administrators on the panel with us. So we kind of have them to make sure we have a good fit, especially like at Orange High School this year. The SRO there took another district. So we had the principal from the Orange High School with us to make sure they're kind of getting a say-so and working with us on what that looks like as far as a relationship goes also inside there. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, no, that's helpful.
Okay.
Do you want questions now or later?
Yeah, we can just go now. No problem.
So my question, and we talk about this a lot in just informal conversations with Mr. Meyer, Mr. Ray, even Mr. Jenkins in our finance and audit meeting, this comes up. Am I safe to say we're trying to get to a 1-to-1 with all deliberate speed? Not compromising training, not we're not looking for just a check the box, but putting the right people in every school.
Yeah, I can
I don't want
speak
to ask
that.
an assumptive or leading
No.
question.
So, this conversation started back when Mr. Rafe was here. It's continued under Mr. Meyer. The long-range goal of the district, if you will, my first and foremost is I wanted to get us plussed up on the school resource officer side. That's a big ask from the county, and I don't take that lightly. And this process takes well over a year. Probably a year and a half ago, I started the formal request. Again, they have to hire new people. They have to put them through background. They have to go to an academy. They have to pass the academy. They have to go through field training. They have to pass field training. And then they can come on the road, and then one of the more seasoned deputies can apply for the school resource officer position. So it's not like you hire someone for the school resource officer position. They already have experience as in this case, a deputy or a police officer. So going forward, now that we're gonna be here in short order with a school resource officer at every middle and high school, we would like to address a position, and I don't really have a name for it yet. I'll call it, for today's sake, a security specialist at each elementary school. So we'll be looking at, I guess, 17.
17.
Right?
Yes.
Today, maybe 18 tomorrow. But yeah, that's the long-range goal or the ask of the board support. Did that answer your question? So that
Yes,
would
and
be
I
a
only speak for
one-on-one.
myself, but absolutely support the right people being in the buildings. And when I was at Berlin, I looked up, and everybody's tall to me, but he was especially tall. And I asked him, "Are you here every day?" And so I'm guessing that was Deputy
Deputy
Gaines
Gaines.
over
That was
at
him.
Berlin.
Yeah.
And the cool thing is this wasn't a thing where he's standing like some, guardian. He was part of the family at Berlin, so he's doing all the stuff that they do, and it's a big deal to have someone that's part of the family. It's not a stranger, it's not an outsider for the staff or the kids.
Right. Oh, yeah, they're well ingrained. Deputy Peterson at Liberty, the kids were, with his permission, passing him around during a basketball game last year. Sorry, Mr. Meyer, a bench or two may have been broken, but we did put the work order in, but it was all for the benefit of the kids. So you'll see them in the student section at every home football game. Yeah, they're just as much a part of the family or the staff. You know, they're an informal counselor. They do classroom presentations. That's probably my next slide. Here's a few pictures of him. I did tell the sheriff I would put one photo of him in the upper right-hand corner. He did show up at Safety Town again during the summertime when, you know, they do get the opportunity to take a little vacation time off. We have them for 2 weeks at our Safety Town, getting our littles ready to go to school, like bike safety, how to cross the street and stuff like that. So in addition to the 2 weeks that they do at Olentangy, there's a week at Big Walnut, there's a week at Buckeye Valley, so. These are some of the classroom presentations that they have done in the past. And this was my slide, planning for the future, so that's where you'll see the ask of 17 elementary. And again, I just came up with school security specialist, didn't really have a definition for it.
With that school, we talked briefly with the superintendent about what that looks like. Our office is more than willing to partner in that discussion, what that looks like, from a top to down security, from our deputies down to the security specialists, working with Joe also. So we're on board with this also,
Yep.
and working together, training, cross-training, what all that looks like as this goes forward, and what we need to do to make that happen also on our end.
Joe,
Go ahead, Mr. Lester. Or-
We had our first meeting, Dr. Fetty and I met with Chief Deputy Wiseman and Sheriff Balzer, and that was part of the discussion as far as long-range plan of putting someone in all of our schools, because Deputy Wiseman explained the sustainability of relying on the sheriff's department to bring new people in every year, and especially with a district our size. It's hard, it's not sustainable, so then we're going to look at an alternative to make sure that we have a person in each building, and again, working under Mr. Swazi's supervision in collaboration with the Sheriff's Department.
And just to be clear, I mean, these would be civilian, non-law enforcement officers, but would be, or it's the idea that these are also law enforcement officers?
Hasn't been defined yet. I think probably our most experienced pool may be like reaching out to retired law enforcement who have the 20-plus years of experience. So we would only have to do some minimal training of them. And again, we're getting someone with that much experience at the school. And if I can have one alibi, you know how we have our Neola notices or whatever? Mr. Wright brought it up in our policies. I have to publicly, back when I was hired, the board approved that I was the only district employee that would be able to carry a weapon. So that has now become an annual, I guess, board notice, or I have to make a public announcement of that annually. So with all due respect, I would just use this venue as I just did to accomplish that. I could check that off my box.
So
Is that
notified.
okay? Any other questions? I really appreciate everyone's time, your kind words, and your support. We're sort of the behind the scenes, but we want it that way. We don't want you to see a lot of the stuff that we do. We want the kids to learn, play, same thing with the teachers. We want them all to feel safe or whatever, and we'll just hopefully quietly go about our business.
Thank you.
all.
No, thank you.
Thank you. Great job. All right, next up is more.
Oh, yeah,
than
we have the
just-
whole crew,
just
yeah.
Israel.
There they are. They're all up there, so that's good.
Yeah.
Well, good evening, everyone.
Brothers
Thank,
And Mindy Schultz and Kristen Bordage.
yes, and we will have them introduce themselves also, so that's great.
Perfect. Go ahead.
So, good evening, thank you again. We always appreciate the chance to come and share the work of the curriculum department, like we said, I'm joined by some of my amazing colleagues, and I will let them introduce themselves, but I'm so happy they're here because so many of the things often that I get to talk about, they're doing a lot of that work and thinking behind the scenes, so I'm happy to do that. Just one note, I wanted to make sure that the presentation is a little bit broader than just professional learning, so there's some curricular updates in there also, but we definitely will hit professional learning. And before we do that, I just wanted to take a chance to step back and share both the purpose of and the process by which the curriculum department supports the staff in Olentangy. And at its core, the way I see it, and I think I could speak for the team here, the way we see it is that it is a support role for our staff. And the main purpose is to help them achieve the mission of maximize learning for every student. This seems very straightforward to some, but we all know that teaching and learning, especially with young people, it's very complicated, it's complex, it's challenging, and it seems to get harder every day. So our interactions with staff seek to support them in that work to meet the needs of every student every day. And we really harp on this idea of being a support for our staff, and especially when they really need us. And we do that in a couple different ways. And you'll hear some connections to these when the rest of the team members talk. But first and foremost, we're designing and facilitating professional learning, and that is formal professional learning on our PD days, but also a lot of informal and learning after school through our professional development academy. And then also we are out in buildings doing building-based professional learning. We're meeting with teachers during collaboration time. We really are kind of have our hands in all of those different areas if it involves teacher growth and learning. Secondly, this is probably the most straightforward one is leading curriculum development. You know, oftentimes we might add a new course to our course book, or we have a mandate from the state that we need to add a new course, and we're sort of at the table bringing teachers together, not designing it on our own, you know, really facilitating that collaborative design of that curriculum. And then also a lot of curriculum revision happens, and that's a normal thing to revise and update and rethink the curriculum. But sometimes, again, that's mandated, sometimes it's teacher interest, but we're the ones sort of bringing those folks to the table and getting that work done. And then identifying and promoting instructional resources. This is a huge part of what the department does. We spend much time piloting, vetting, reviewing instructional resources that teachers are going to use in their classroom, and then training and modeling the effective implementation. So it's not just spending money and buying resources. We're following up and training teachers, looking at the evidence. Is it working? Do we need something else? Do we find a gap? And then lastly, supporting instructional leadership. It's important to note, too, that although our main focus is working with teachers, we work with administrators a lot, building administrators, but also more and more central office administrators from with the curriculum department. And also with the addition of instructional coaches in our district, we've added some of those roles over time. We spend a lot of time with the instructional coaches, both at the elementary and middle school level, and our department heads at the secondary level. So we're supporting them, helping them grow as instructional leaders, and really they help us by kind of carrying the torch on different things we're working on back in the building. So regardless of the context, the entire curriculum team believes in partnering with staff members to drive their professional growth and provide support in overcoming the challenges of teaching and learning. And I think when the rest of the folks come up here and explain a couple of these updates, I think you'll see evidence of that, how we do that on a daily basis. So I'm going to pass it over to Nicole Crothers, and she's going to talk about professional learning.
Good evening. I'm Nicole Crothers, entering year 2 in this role as the Assistant Director of Professional Learning, so I'm very excited to be here with you this evening. So speaking just specifically on the topic of professional learning, first I thought I wanted to kick off by giving you a little recap of where we've been. So last year we kind of came full circle with a 5-year cycle of professional learning that we spent time with, and that really, came to an end with the topic of student engagement. And we were really focused on how increasing student engagement in our classrooms might impact student well-being, behaviors, and of course, academics and increasing academics. So with that, we tied in, this previous 4 years of learning, thinking about, if we increase relationships and build those relationships in our classrooms, how does that impact student engagement? If our students are more aware of who they are as a learner and reflecting and self-regulating, how does that impact engagement? when we feel like we belong, what impact does that have on engagement? And lastly, agency. And we become agents of our own learning. We become more engaged, and that increases our engagement. So I shared that with you to kind of give you a sense of an idea to know that we last year really came full circle with this 5-year cycle of our learning. And so heading into this year, we're starting a new journey with a new cycle of professional learning. One of the things that we always do, following our 3 professional development days that we have throughout the year in September, November, and February, is we are always asking for feedback. We care tremendously about it. We want to know what our teachers and our administrators think about what we are sharing with them for the professional learning days. So that image that you see there is just a quick snapshot of some of the feedback that we solicit from them. And this is from last year. Our goal is always to have 80% or higher that of either they find it valuable or very valuable. And I want to emphasize and share with you our final PD day for the year in February. We were very excited to receive this feedback of almost 94%. That really found it valuable. And with that, we tried something a little different, and it was very session focused. And buildings created sessions. Teachers were facilitating professional learning for each other, and they had agency in their learning. And when teachers have agency, they're more engaged. So with that, we are building on that a little bit, and I will share a little bit more about that for what's coming for this year on our PD Day 3. But using the feedback that we receive, we want to value that and continue to pay attention to it and use it to help us as we are developing the opportunities for our teachers. So that's a quick recap of where we've been. So this year, again, I mentioned we are starting a new conversation, and with our administrators in the district, we kick things off with our leadership development as we are recommitting to the mission, and very similar conversations are happening with our teachers. And our mission to facilitate maximum learning for every student was first introduced and created in the year 1999-2000 school year. So a lot has changed in education since then, and learning looks differently than it did when our mission was first introduced. So we really, thought this was a great opportunity for us to pause, and now a few years after COVID, knowing that students are learning differently and they need different things, how can we really reevaluate that and spend some time talking about what does learning need to look like today? And we have 2 amazing resources that in our department we love. You have them in front of you. One is our Portrait of a Learner, with our dispositions of a learner of purposeful, resilient, curious, and kind. And these are really the dispositions that we continuously are trying to develop in our students and in ourselves as adult learners as well. The second document is our the Olentangy Foundations of Curriculum, Instruction, Assessment, and Context. So where we are entering this conversation this year is looking at how our Portrait of a Learner and the Olentangy Foundations can really help to provide clarity for us as in Olentangy schools, as teachers and administrators, of what does learning need to look like today. There's a lot within these 2 documents that talk about our values and our beliefs of who we are in Olentangy schools and what we want for our students and for ourselves. So this is where our conversation will be coming throughout this school year, and the time that we'll be spending and the discussions we're having. We kick things off on our first PD day in just a few weeks. We've already shared a glimpse with our schools and actually shared the resources this week that will help to support them as they begin to personalize their plans, because while we always share these ideas with them, we do also value and give them autonomy to personalize it and make it meaningful for their building. So that's something that we always encourage with our teachers and our buildings as well. So with that, a quick glimpse of our learning plan. So how are we going to accomplish that? What do we do? So a little bit about the structure of how we approach our professional learning in the district. Again, I've mentioned our three district PD days, which are very important. Again, September, November, and February. This year, our first day is really focused on making these personal connections to the foundations and the Portrait of a Learner, and looking at how they are interconnected to help us achieve our mission to facilitate maximum learning for our students. Day 2, we strive to go a little bit deeper into really personalizing it and looking within our context. So math teachers, our goal is that they're digging into what this looks like in our math classrooms to help, again, the more our teachers own it and make sense of it, they can take it back and use these ideas in their classroom. And then day 3, stemming off of what I shared with you on the previous slide regarding the feedback from last year, we are embarking on a new idea. We're hoping that it goes really well, but just, you know, we have so much positive feedback from our 2 district events, which is also on this list of Think Tank and Elevate, and I'll highlight those in a minute. And not every teacher gets to come to those events. You know, they're either right after school is out or they're right before school starts, and, you know, summer is summer. So we don't get the audience of every teacher in the district at those events. So what we're going to try to do this year on day 3 in February is bring together an opportunity for some cross-district collaboration. So our high schools are all going to come together in one space. Our middle schools are all going to come together in one space. And our elementaries, getting feedback from our building principals, we've decided we're going to split them into quadrants of 4 in 4 different elementary spaces so that our teachers have the chance to come together and share ideas with each other. Again, stemming from the positive feedback we received last year when they just did it in their own building, we're going to try to take it one step further. Of course, there's a lot of logistics involved in that, but we're very excited to try that and see, you know, what positive outcome might come from that. So that's what's coming with our district PD days. We also have 3 building visits that the entire academic team has really jumped on board. It's not just our department. Instructional technology, equity and inclusion, you know, their student well-being all join, and we visit every building throughout the district 3 times a year. These are very quick hitters, 15-minute promise or less. Teachers love it to be quick because their time is precious. But we, you know, we make the connections between our 3 PD days of some different ideas. It's dropping a quick strategy. For example, we just started developing our first one, and we're going to be sharing an idea with them that incorporates a technology resource that they can use in their classroom that they might not know about, with our portrait of a learner disposition of curiosity, and how that helps them dig into the curriculum and help our students to uncover the curriculum themselves. So we're hitting on the portrait of a learner and the foundation while giving them a resource they can use, and they love it. Like we always receive positive feedback from these events. So we get the 3 curriculum building visits. And then we do have our Think Tank and Elevate. I'm so proud to share, you know, this past year, we had the most attendance we've had at both of those events. And of course, in the last several years, attendance has been lower due to COVID related, but really positive feedback. It's a celebration. Think Tank seeks to have teachers share what they've been doing throughout the year, so it's more, you know, reflective, and it sends teachers off into the summer with things to think about and reflection. In their summertime. And then Elevate seeks to just spark that excitement. And that event is special because it brings together all of our new teachers, which Joe mentioned. We had our largest group yet, and returning staff. We had about 150 returning staff that joined our 183. So we had just shy of 400 teachers here for Elevate. So that was a great event as well. The other to mention on here are Professional Learning Academy. This is an opportunity for teachers to find some more personalized things that they're needing. One of the things that we're really proud of and that we've been building in the last few years is a Seeds of Change course, which really seeks to inspire teachers and give them agency to learn about something of their interest. They can do it individually or collaboratively, but it gives them the chance to really have ownership of their learning. So that's just one example of many of the different courses, book studies that we offer through our very own Olentangy Professional Learning Academy. And as someone who hasn't always been in Olentangy, like that experience in of itself is just, it's amazing that we're able to offer that for our teachers. And then lastly, professional learning, of course, at the building level. You know, what we share, then our building administrators are constantly working to integrate into staff meetings and collaboration time as well. So that's a quick recap of professional learning. I'm going to turn it over to Mindy Schultz for some elementary updates.
All right. My name is Mindy Schultz, and I'm the Assistant Director of Elementary Curriculum. And Nicole said that she's entering into year 2 in her role. I'm on day 24. So I'm excited to be here today to get to share all the exciting updates because I'm not new to elementary. I've been a classroom teacher here in Olentangy. I was a literacy specialist, and I was also a building administrator here in Olentangy in our elementary schools. So elementary is my passion. I would like to thank all of you for allowing me to come and share this evening. We have a lot of exciting and important updates in elementary curriculum. Tonight I'm going to focus on a few key updates in both literacy and math. So starting with literacy, during the 22-23 school year, House Bill 436, often referred to as the dyslexia law, came into effect. This law set clear expectations and requirements regarding teacher professional development on structured literacy, as well as screening and intervention for children with dyslexia. I am proud that as of this August, all of our kindergarten and first grade teachers, K-5 English language teachers, and intervention specialists who support these grades have all completed the required structured literacy professional development. As you can imagine, in a district this size, that was a huge undertaking that was accomplished with the support of Monica Brown, Stephanie Daberco, Holly Roberts, all of our elementary literacy specialists, and most importantly, our dedicated teachers. This year, all of our second and third grade teachers, gifted specialists, and intervention specialists who support those grade levels, as well as any new kindergarten and first grade teacher, will complete the required structured literacy professional development. A side note, the structured literacy professional development was offered through the state, and our own Holly Roberts and team came together to create our own Olentangy structured literacy development that really aligns here with what we want to see here in Olentangy and very much aligning with what the state required. So that was also a really huge undertaking, something to celebrate. The next update on my list, I'm actually going to jump down to geodes and decodables. So the next update on my list supports tenets of that House Bill 436 and the science of reading. This was accomplished because of the support of the Board of Education. This year, we purchased geodes, which are decodable texts that reinforce students' phonetic knowledge, help them build strong content knowledge, and acquire needed vocabulary skills. These books were purchased for every kindergarten through second grade classroom across our entire district. Now, we don't just believe in purchasing resources and handing them over. We also deeply believe in professional development. So throughout this school year, all of our K-2 teachers will receive training in geodes to make sure that they are, in fact, utilizing those resources in the best possible way to support our students. Moving on to math. Now math. I cannot talk about the forward movement that our district has made in math over the last year without sharing the significant impact of adding our math specialists to all of our elementary and middle school buildings. Once again, this could not have been possible without the support of this Board of Education. Our math specialists have enhanced the mathematical pedagogy of all teachers, students in Olentangy through, they've been leading professional development, they've been guiding data meetings and data talks within their buildings to help support decision-making around what we're doing and how we're supporting our students, as well as time that they themselves have spent supporting our students. At the elementary level specifically, they are leading our current Math Bridges resource adoption. This year, we are in phase 1 of 2 of our adoption. Phase 1 includes Number Corner and Bridges intervention. Phase 2, which will occur next year, is our Bridges 3rd edition core curriculum. It's currently being finalized, that core curriculum, that 3rd edition, which is why we are adopting it then next year. For this year, however, Number Corner, it is an inquiry-based skills program focused on developing mathematical reasoning. It is engaging, rigorous, and provides students with an opportunity to develop conceptual understanding, number sense, and procedural fluency, all in the context of problem solving at each grade level, and that's in grades K through 5. Number Corner is happening in our classrooms about 20 minutes per day. Now, we all know that all students can make sense of mathematics. However, some just need a little more time, more opportunities, more support than others. This is where Bridges Intervention resource comes into play. This resource is intended to support students in small group setting and emphasize problem solving, the use of visual models, and focuses on developing fluency. It is intended to complement the regular math instruction and provides ongoing progress monitoring. Each Bridges intervention kit includes manipulatives to support hands-on learning, activities, and games which enhance engagement, and assessments which provide key information regarding students' growth. Once again, all of these resources and this professional learning for our teachers is taking place because of the support of the board. At our elementary level, we are focused on providing equitable opportunities to all of our students across all of our buildings. These updates support that focus. Thank you for your time.
Good evening. I'm Kristen Bordage, Assistant Director of Secondary Curriculum and Instruction. This is the start of my third year in the role, and 4 years altogether here at the district as an administrator. So my day-to-day work comprises of lots of projects with teachers. And so what you see on the screen here is a list of the different kinds of projects that have taken place in the last 2 to 3 years and that are still ongoing throughout the 2023-2024 school year. So my role is to facilitate new courses and the development of new courses. The first main bullet point there are the 2 new mathematics courses at the high school level, and they include Data Science Foundations and Discrete Math Computer Science. These are very exciting courses for me personally because they are very student-centered. They are designed to align to both changes in the workforce, changes in university majors, and changes in ultimately careers and the demands of mathematical thinking in our new careers. Data science being, just an example of the mathematical thinking that takes place in all of the data analytic careers that are now available to our students and certainly weren't when I was in school. High school. So,
We just pause a minute.
Yeah.
I think this is critical because, particularly even at my employer, getting data scientists, the demand for those skills are incredible. So the fact that
Yeah.
we're creating curriculum to start to meet that demand, I think is fantastic.
yeah, I'm really excited about these for that reason too. The initiative that took place at the state level was a cooperation between the Ohio Department of Higher Education and the Ohio Department of Education, and they teamed to create what they refer to as modern or contemporary math pathways. So how can we leverage what we know about current work demands in our K-12 and in this case 9-12 coursework that would prepare students for these modern workplaces. So it was an initiative that is a true partnership. It's been an ongoing process, and here we are now, 2021. We adopted a pilot. We piloted both of these courses. In fact, discrete math is still in pilot mode right now. We started with one section of Data Science Foundations in 2021. We now have 14 sections in just a few years. We started with a section of roughly 20-ish students. We now have 283 students. They are mostly juniors and seniors taking Data Science Foundations. Discrete math has been on our books for quite a long time. What's new here is the computer science piece. So again, we see this focus of the state to help us with the curriculum in ways that align to, again, the modern work demands. And so the computer science component is very project-based and very game-based. We had 3 sections in 2022-2023 last school year. Today we have 5 sections, so that too is growing in enrollment, which is an indication, I believe, of the student-centered qualities of these curricular areas. The next main bullet point, the curriculum development and revision that you see there in the middle of the screen is all about those projects again, convening groups of teachers related to the different disciplines. And we do everything from update, develop, design, adapt, modify the curriculum to make it more consistent across the district and to really ensure mastery of learning of all of our students. So those are our 2 charges. My role in all of that is to facilitate that process and come to the table ready to inspire the changes that we'll make for that more consistent curriculum. Finally, the literature selection review process is the last main point there. And I was here in February of 2022. Some of you were here then. And I shared a presentation that was about a new literature, a new update to the literature selection review process. And so I'm here to update you again on where we've been since February of 2022. So we have a by the numbers screen here where I thought maybe I could capture all of the hard work that has taken place among teachers, administrators, families in this process of updating this work. So what did we do? We came together and resituated the literature selection that we have in our grade 6-12 English Language Arts curriculum to a family communication tool that's informing families of the content of the literature that's selected in our English classes in grades 6-12. So we have a form, it's 2 pages. We have FAQs now that help teachers through that process of completing the form. That's an increase, by the way. We started with 6 pages. I receive feedback. I add to the FAQ. We now have an 8-page FAQ. We also have increased our number of literature titles on the district webpage from roughly 300 to 450 titles. So a pretty dramatic increase in just over a year and a half's time. And I said back in February of 2022 that I would inform you of the number of forms that I returned for revision, so these selection review forms. And I counted my email, approximately 10 forms was the number that I came up with for the ones that I returned and say, hey, could you add a little more detail to this potentially objectionable content section? I'm not seeing a page reference, which is again part of that guidance within the FAQ around completing the form with the details that are essential for family communication of the literature that we select. I counted the number of email exchanges between teachers and me, approximately 24. They reflect clarifying questions, like, hey, what do you think about this, or should I do this? And I'm very focused on descriptive feedback. I have an example there that's bolded. I've had 8 in-person meetings with teachers and departments where I've solicited feedback on the process as well as clarified the process with those department level questions. And then I've had 12 or more, roughly 12, virtual calls, again, all around clarifying this process. I will continue to update the process with our new teachers, our new administrators, and our new department chairs of English so that they are informed and aware of this important process that we have. Thanks for your attention, and I think we'll open it up to any questions or comments for the group.
So I guess my first question would be for Vince. So in your plans for professional development, curriculum development, are there any specific modules on CRT or this alleged indoctrination that's yet to be defined?
No, there are no plans for that. And I would say we're focused on teaching the standards and understanding the standards and designing learning that cultivates purposefulness, curiosity, resilience, and kindness. That's really what we're laser focused on.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Anything else?
So I've got a couple things. So one, I think we talked about like the dyslexia training that's going on and how we've gotten through K1, we're looking toward 2 and 3. Is that something that's then repeated at intervals after that, like every 5 years, something like that? How do we stay on top of that?
Yeah, so we'll continue to, at this time, we'll continue to onboard any new staff. Also, if we have a staff member, let's say that they're teaching a grade level that maybe hadn't had that training, they moved to another grade level, we'll make sure that those teachers also are trained. And then also our literacy specialists continue to work daily, whether it's in the classrooms, providing professional development, leading team meetings, supporting resources that do support science of reading within their classrooms as well. So ongoing. And it's really not just that one and done.
Yeah.
Like I said, that ongoing.
So one other question, or I guess probably comment, about this. First of all, having the pods come together of the elementary schools, having the middle schools come together, having the high schools come together, I think it's a wonderful idea. Really, it speaks to the equity of experience that we're trying to get at, that it's not just, oh, we have one grade school here, we have one grade school here. We're really trying to share that experience across all of the schools to ensure that there's a consistent Olentangy experience, so I applaud you all for that. I also just want to highlight the book reviews here. If you haven't taken a look at them, if people are looking at these, they really do share quite a bit of information as we're going through, and give a very clear indication of what's going on. I know that we've worked on that over time to make sure that we're really sharing that. But if you have questions as a community member about the books that are coming up, and you don't want to read the entire book, you can look at this, and it does give quite a bit of information, and at least leads you to, to areas that you might ask questions about. We have our controversial issues policy, we have our literature selection. You have that ability to do that. I just want to really highlight the work that's gone into this. To have 450 books and still growing is really an accomplishment, and I'm glad that we're continuing to work on that.
Thank you.
As an English major, I say especially.
Well, that was one of my thoughts, so I'm glad you touched on that. The other, I just came from elementary curriculum night to then get here. So it was the perfect precursor to everything that you discussed. So it's not the first time I got to hear about Number Corner tonight. So they certainly did the curriculum justice, and you really were able to add to that. I think specifically I was in a first grade setting hearing about how they're going to be utilizing this. And I think one of the cool things too with regards to Bridges being adopted is that even though it's scripted, it's not like a reading from the book program, and that it's really going to allow all of our teachers to meet the students where they're at. And then kind of as a follow-up to that, even talking about, I was really impressed with how our teachers then spoke to parents who may not be familiar if they were new to the district or if their student wasn't here for kindergarten, understanding what those progress reports then look like and how all of our curriculum helps to develop those students throughout the year and how to read those things. So it was just really lovely to go from curriculum night to then be here and hear more in depth about elementary
You
curriculum.
just made my heart so happy.
Oh, good.
All of us.
It was fantastic. So it was, like I said, it was like, that was Act 1, this is Act 2, it's all great. So as a parent with little ones, it's really encouraging to know what we're investing in them and the work that you do. I work in the realm of professional development in education, so this entire presentation, I'm just like sitting here taking notes. I'm very proud of what we're able to do in-house, so bravo.
Dr. Wise?
Yes.
Oh, sorry.
Well, dyslexia, of course, is near and dear to my heart. With the training that I know you said that Holly Robertson and her team created, their training, does it align also with our OG training program?
Yeah, actually what they did, even with the OG course, they even rewrote that to include the components of what was required within those 18 hours to adjust then day one of their Orton-Gillingham training.
Okay.
I should also share, last year we did have all of our elementary literacy specialists go through Orton-Gillingham 1 as well.
Oh, good.
And currently our middle school specialists, yeah, are also.
Good.
It's all about that consistent
Yes.
understanding.
Right, Dr. Alpha, you ready now?
Yes, indeed. So just a few questions. First of all, a comment as well. As you're talking, I'm checking off all of the Hattie boxes of the things that are going to make a difference on learning. And I think, and I might be wrong, but when you put all these together, you're really tapping into the top level of impacting student achievement with this collective teacher efficacy. Does that sound fair, that we're really, as we put all these together, we're empowering teachers to feel like they can make a difference, which is really driving achievement? Is that fair? Is that the longest question in the history
No,
of?
I think you're in tune with exactly what the conversations we have are really building that efficacy in teachers, because they need to have that on a daily basis in that collaborative time when challenges arise, and we are not there all the time with them. But the way we design learning, the way this team facilitates, empowers them to take it back and do it in their building with their peers, and that is such a huge lever to pull for student achievement. And yes, that's what we're working towards.
So some of us are old enough to remember Harry and Rosemary Wong, where they talk about how important it is. If you can't, anybody who's teaching long enough, it's like, yeah. You remember how he talks about the importance of if teachers can't see kids learning, then they will not learn. I think that's why our kids do so well, is because the teachers believe in them, the parents believe in them. So I just want to make sure I was thinking correctly on that. And I'm going to do my questions in a whole bunch of different orders, so anybody who wants to answer can. So these data science and classes like that, are they available at all high schools, or?
Yes, they are.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Because I also came from curriculum night at Liberty, and they didn't have it like that when I was a high school student. I felt like I was in a college classroom with these seasoned veteran math teachers, and the expectations are there too, which is also why kids achieve at high levels. So that's exciting. Noah's got some work to do. So let me go to the literature review process, because we talked a lot about that, and I can't believe that's like a year and a half ago.
I know, yeah.
We talked about a parent role in this at one point. Where did that fit in again? The parent role for?
So parents are part of the initial advisory that provided insight into the revision to the process that we had. So much of the current process was very parent-driven with their
Okay.
feedback and insights.
So, understanding the process, I forget the name of the book, my son. I had to order it last night, 9th grade ELA, first quarter. So I ordered that book. If I, as a parent, felt completely against my student reading a book about, I'm trying to pick up something extreme, like understanding To Kill a Mockingbird. I don't know, do they still read that in high school? If I was completely against it for whatever reason, I could just simply tell the teacher and say, you know what, that book's not for my student. Does that sound right?
Yes, that's correct. So the form encourages the communication, the two-way communication between the teacher and the family. And the idea is there are alternates identified on each form. And parents know that that's the go-to resource if they are reconsidering the main selection of the class. So there are at least 2 alternates is what we ask teachers to indicate on the form. And any parent at any time, consistent with our literature policy, can select and opt into one of those alternates.
In fact, there are 3 for To Kill a Mockingbird.
So I think you just checked another box with Hattie, which is parent participation, collaboration. I might be wrong. So let me go back to the math work you're doing. Conceptually, all students would get a curriculum at a tier 1 level. Then based on the data that your coaches, specialists, principals, teachers are getting, you can then offer some of the interventions, and some might be to tier 1, some might be to tier. So it sounds like we're trying to meet kids' individual and unique needs. So if my student needs a little bit of help with number sense, they can get it. But if they're fine there, then another, is that?
That's absolutely correct.
Okay.
And so that Bridges Intervention resource that we purchased can be utilized for classroom teachers. It could be utilized for specialists. It could be utilized with intervention specialists. We are training all of them on it. But also the key piece is when you have a student who's learning and has language happening within the classroom, we don't want to confuse them with other kinds of language or different tools or strategies. We want them to be consistent, right, to help that student build those skills. And that's what that Bridges Intervention Kit will provide on top of then our math instruction.
So here's the only one that I'm not even completely sure if this does this. Does this also extend learning opportunities?
Yes, it would.
Good, that's a great answer. Because I hear from parents all the time, you know, we want our child pushed here, we want our child pushed here. So parents can just tell teachers, I'd want my children pushed in this area because I see this, and they could also collaborate.
Yeah.
If the teacher hasn't already noticed it.
Absolutely. And so for specifically, let's just talk about the bridges intervention. So when I'm thinking extend, I'm thinking maybe extend the time that the student might have instruction. So they may have that support within their classroom where teachers providing small group instruction differentiated, and then they would have that extra support with that bridges. But as you continue to talk, I thought you were talking about extension when it comes to advancing our students' learning, and Bridges does offer that also for our teachers.
Good on both answers.
Yeah, yeah.
Good,
Thank you, Mr. O'Brien.
sure, all right. Thank you very much, great presentation.
Appreciate
very
you.
insightful.
Thank you.
All right. Mr. Meyer, superintendent's report.
Good evening. First and foremost, want to thank Mr. DiTilio in the curriculum department for that fabulous presentation. So, hopefully, because when we stand up here and give presentations, people might say, oh, that was a long presentation, but that's exactly why we're here. I'm so proud of the work that they do. When I was a high school principal, in collaboration with the curriculum department, we did some amazing things at Orange High School, and we continue to do some amazing things across our entire district. And one thing that we're laser focused on here in Olentangy is alignment. So alignment across our grade levels in our schools, horizontally and then vertically throughout the district. And that's why we get the results that we get. They don't happen by accident. We have a lot of dedicated individuals in our organization, teachers, support staff with aides, and as well as administrators who really, really do what's best for kids here in Olentangy. So extremely proud of the work that they continue to do in collaboration with our staff. Also, I had a first this morning, so my 33rd year in education, a first. We had a flood over by Johnny Cake's Corner Elementary School, and the county put up a high water sign. So when our bus drivers go through training and a high water sign, they don't go through high water. So again, reached out to Joe, Mr. Swazi, this morning, got an SRO on that real quick over there because we had buses start to back up there getting into the elementary school. And we were able to handle that probably within 15 minutes and got that taken care of. But again, collaboration with our security office, our SROs, our transportation department with the radios, and then we're able to get the kids to school. So that was a first. I've never experienced a flood. Okay, so going back to August 13th, want to highlight the grand opening ceremony and ribbon cutting for Berlin Middle School. What a great day. I think we had over 1,200 people there. So obviously cut the ribbon and toured the building, and they had a great day over there. So for sure want to make sure that I thank the community for their continued support in that 2020 bond issue to make that happen. A few years ago, we broke ground, and now we just opened a building that's going to be a space to educate a lot of kids for several years to come. So want to thank the community for that. Then going on to Dr. Daberco referenced this, but what a great first day of school. So we got to welcome over 23,500 new and returning students across our 28 buildings. And so we have 26 school buildings, and then we also count the academy and our OASIS program on the first day of school. And you can see we have pictures there. So on the left from Meadows, and then in collaboration with the Delaware County Sheriff's Office, Otto, their therapy dog, got to participate at Orange High School. I think those are Orange High School cheerleaders there. That's me there at Berlin Middle School, welcoming students off the buses in the morning. And then Mrs. Nyquist, the principal at Scioto Ridge Elementary, welcoming the kindergartners in her Ram outfit, Scioto Ridge Rams. So that was great. And then the Orange Township firefighters greeting kids at Oak Creek Elementary. Again, tremendous partnerships within the community. So we want to thank them for taking part in the first day, welcoming our students and staff. One thing I want to highlight, because this is in collaboration with our EL program in the communications department. And so this year, we're serving nearly 1,300 English language learner students who speak more than 80 different languages across our district. And I think that when I asked Dr. Fetty in 2016, this number may have been a little over 300. Is that correct, Dr. Fetty? A little over 300. And then, again, we opened the doors with 1,300 this year, which is important for us as far as inclusivity, inclusive excellence, in identifying the needs and how we can support English language learners and as well as their families. So that's an example of collaboration with the EL program and the communications department. That's an example of the school calendar, and that's actually in French. So then when I asked them on their website, we translate into 24 different languages currently, our forms and information on the website. So if you're on the website and you go to the Pupil Services Department and then click down to ELL and then to translated resources, you can see all of the wonderful resources that both departments have worked to translate for our students and families. Technology department, again, this is an annual event, but really important event. So this past Tuesday, hosted over 150 families at Orange Middle School. So we can go over technology with the families around all the digital resources that we offer, because again, especially if you're new to the district, it can be daunting as far as navigating through all of the digital resources that we have. Power School, Schoology, and I think the most important question or help of the evening from what the technology department tells me is the device setup. Just setting up devices, making sure that our students and families know how to set up the devices for students to use. So again, great success this past Tuesday. This was prior to school, and again, this is important. So what we do here in Olentangy, so on August 15th, we hold open houses at all of our elementary schools and preschools. And this is really important because I think one of the most anticipated things for parents as well as kids is to find out who their teacher is over the summer. And then once they find out, and this year I think it was August 10th that everyone found out, then they want to meet the teacher. So this is kind of a soft start where we provide this opportunity for families to come into the school in our preschool and elementary classrooms to visit with their teachers. So also, I wanted to highlight this because this is really cool, and I heard about this I think last year when I was at an Orange Township trustees meeting. So the Orange Township broke ground on the new Veterans Memorial at Orange Road and Old State this week. But what I want to emphasize is the relationship and partnership with Orange Middle School. So over the years, Orange High School has collected and donated approximately $20,000 towards the building of the memorial, which again, that's near and dear to their heart, and they do such a wonderful job every year with their Veterans Day celebrations and ceremonies. So they were able to raise $20,000 towards that. So they broke the ground, and you should see that.
I didn't realize that they finished. That's great. That's really good for
Yeah.
Orange. And,
Yep. Awesome.
Rob Quigley, a former trustee, and that was like his thing. So congratulations to Orange and to Rob on getting that done.
Absolutely. And again, many of us were at, I just wanted to highlight this too, the Olentangy on August 11th. One of my favorite nights of the year because of what the Olentangy Education Foundation does for Olentangy and the partnership that we have with them with donating so much money to our classrooms to enhance student learning. So this year I accepted a check for $56,455. And the theme for the night was the art of education. We have so many good programs in the district, but we got to highlight our arts programs across the district that night, and it was just phenomenal. So I think that when they did the 5-minute fundraisers, we had over $12,000 really quick. So want to thank them for their partnership and what they do to support our schools as well. Then the district convocation. This was amazing. So, of course, I've been to a lot of convocations, but as superintendent, my first convocation, we got to welcome back nearly 3,000 teachers and staff at the staff convocation there at Berlin High School on August 16th. And then also our partner expo. We had over 100 partners there throughout the day to be a part of convocation, and then had such a tremendous motivational speaker in John Petz, and really at the end of the day talked about the power of a moment. And as educators, we impact hundreds and thousands of students over our careers, and so important on creating those moments and the potential moments that we have with kids. But I wanted to highlight just one, because we received a lot of positive feedback, but I just wanted to highlight one quote from one of our teachers, and this is a couple excerpts from her quote. "I have been a teacher in the district 24 years. I wanted to send a personal email to you and anyone else who was involved with the planning convocation this year. I just wanted you all to know that this was the best convocation I've ever had the pleasure of seeing. Mr. Petz was phenomenal. His presentation was so timely, funny, entertaining, interesting, and sad all at the same time. I was never for 1 minute bored. It was exactly what teachers needed to hear." So I for sure will echo, I heard it 3 times, and very engaging and just a great message for our staff with convocation. So a huge success, and want to thank our communications team and curriculum team did a really good job of putting that together and executing that day. So kudos to them. And then also part of that day for convocation, we get to announce our Teacher of the Year and Employee of the Year. So congratulations to Aaron Bush, who's a journalism teacher at Berlin High School, and then Christy Vance, building secretary at Olentangy Meadows. What's really cool is we invite the families, and they do not know they're receiving this award, and so it's just such a joyous occasion when we get to present, and then obviously they get to share that moment with their families. So really, really cool. Also, I want to focus on the first few days of school. And again, we've received a lot of positive feedback, and I think that under Mr. Wright's leadership a few years ago, when he talked about when we get into school, that sense of belonging and creating that caring, welcoming environment, and how relationships are a part of that. So spending the first couple days of really working on relationships with students in our school. So this is an example of at Cheshire Elementary. So the PAWS traits, and that the PAWS acronym stands for perseverance, awareness, work ethic, and showing respect. So that's an example of the many, many activities across the district. Also want to shout out to our transportation department. For the first week of school, pretty good. You know, we had one little hiccup on the first day of school in the PM route, but our team committed to providing the best service possible, jumped on that really quick, and we were able to correct that for the next day. So that route has been going very well since. So want to thank for sure our transportation team and our drivers for a job well done the first week of school. This will be an action item tonight, so wanted to point out, and we've had discussions about potential growth opportunities in the district. So as we look at available land in the district, we own up on Bunny Station and Sawmill Parkway, we currently own, which we purchased in 2004, 49.7 acres. So originally back in 2004, again, the district has had enough foresight to purchase land, or land's been donated to the district for future planning. So this land was purchased in 2004 to potentially serve current and future families on the west side of the district for future schools. So in looking at that land, there is land just west, contiguous to what we already own, which is an additional 89.93 acres of land. So we're going to make a recommendation to purchase that land tonight because it, again, sets us up for the future in future school sites. Utilities are on the horizon up in that area, which then, again, saves the district a lot of money when utilities, and we can tap into those utilities for future construction. And then also this total then land with the 49 acres plus the 89 allows us potential expansion for future elementary, middle, and high school all on one site. So currently we have, like, we talk a lot about Berlin tonight, so we have Berlin High School, Berlin Middle, and Cheshire Elementary. We have the Shanahan site right there. You know, even over at Liberty, we have schools in close proximity there to kind of create that campus feel. So that will be on the agenda tonight for approval, and two just big action items. One I just talked about is the land, the purchase agreement to purchase the land from Indel Ventures, and then recommend approval of an agreement with Prodigy Building Solutions for $206,000 for refurbing a chiller unit at Liberty High School, which Mr. Gordon tells me we could get up to 10 additional years out of that chiller. So that's on the agenda for tonight. And then important dates, middle school curriculum night. Dr. Wallach talked about elementary curriculum night. So that's coming up Wednesday, August 30th. Elementary curriculum night, because we split those by grade levels, August 31st for grades 3 through 5. Day off, Labor Day, September 4th, and we will be back here September 7th.
All right, any questions
Any
for Mr.
questions?
Meyer? No? All right, thank you, Mr. Meyer.
All right,
Appreciate
thank
it. All right, Mr. Jenkins, Treasurer's Report.
Good evening, board members. Have just a couple of slides to show this evening. Some updates on a couple of items that take place this time of year. The Ohio Revised Code talks about what is known as a Tax Incentive Review Council, commonly referred to as a TIRC. And what a TIRC does is it reviews the tax abatement agreements that are granted as part of economic development. And at this time of the year, they all come pretty fast and furious. We would have met with the city of Westerville on Wednesday, August the 16th. Last Friday was the city of Columbus, which some of our biggest TIFs are city of Columbus and the Polaris area. And then on Monday, Berlin, Liberty, and I believe Orange Township is now confirmed. And what the Turks do are you have a council made up of a representative from each of the legislative authorities. Typically, the county auditor has a representative there, a member of the school district. And essentially, you're reviewing the economic development agreements. All of them are typically granted with some type of promise of job creation, growth of property valuation. And so the kind of the quid pro quo is there will be an exemption granted as long as economic opportunity is a part of the deal. So that's exactly what the TIRC does, is it allows those entities to get together, discuss whether for that year the abatement did what it was supposed to. There's a recommendation then that's made to the legislative authority that granted the original economic development incentive agreement, and that is either a recommendation to accept, reject, or modify. and then those legislative authorities are actually required to take action within 60 days. So when I first got the job here at Olentangy, I know we talked a bit about making sure that we kept our finger on the pulse of the different economic development incentive agreements, making sure that the school district was a part of the process, and glad to say that those are happening, and good partnership with all of our partners. If you're wondering, City of Delaware, it was actually in the winter. It would have been in December of 22. That was one of the first ones I went to, but these are now getting on the slate before September. Met today. Mr. Meyer and I went down and met with Auditor George Keitza and his Deputy Auditor Sherry Lewis. It was a very productive meeting, and I'm excited to add that essentially what we were talking about with Auditor Keitza was our millage strategies, specifically as it relates to our debt service agreements, or beg your pardon, our debt service requirements for our paying back our debt for our bond issues. We've talked a lot about with this group that when our property values are increasing as much as we expect this year, that we know millage rates are rolled back so that there's not a vis-a-vis 35% increase in taxes. But one of the other golden opportunities that we talked about today with Auditor Keitza is that if we're going to increase as much as we expect, that we can actually roll back a full mill of debt service. So I wanted to be sure that that sunk in for just a second. When the value of the property in the district increases by about 30 to 35%, we will still be able, with 6.5 mills as opposed to 7.5 mills, we will be able to pay our debt service requirements. That is ultimately a direct benefit to the residents of the community, that we will be able to trim a mill off of what we are collecting. It gets better. We're obviously talking about and deliberating what type of a ballot issue would be on the ballot, in March. Not only would we be able to trim that mill, but we would still be able to have a bond issue in March of 2024 that does not increase the millage again. So the overall effect for our taxpayers is that what we're looking at in March of 2024, once we kind of get exactly all of our arrows pointed in the same direction as to what this would look like, we will be able to net effect drop a mill off of what we're technically approving, assuming passage at that time in March of 2024. Questions about that, because that was a bit of a mouthful?
It's just, we'll collect the same dollars, but the mills come down.
That's correct.
Right.
That's correct. The debt service collections, because property values have increased, even though the millage rate decreases by a full mill, will allow us to collect what we need to pay our debt service. But it will be very impactful to individual homeowners whose overall tax rate drops a full mill. That's correct.
And on the TIFs, there's been some pretty public TIFs where municipalities have sued the TIF owner because they didn't deliver. Have we had any TIFs that they didn't deliver the benefits that they promised?
No. I've not been involved in a Turk meeting yet, nor in my, certainly not a deep dive, but just cursory research of a few years back. It's pretty common for the Turk to find that the owner is doing what they're required to do. If there are some things that you deal with, like COVID, that can make sometimes job targets and job growth challenging, the Turk committee usually takes that under advisement. They'll issue something like a review status. But no, we are not finding that when we enter into these agreements that the entity that receives the tax benefit or the developer are just thumbing their nose at the district or anyone else for that matter.
Thank you.
No
questions.
Final thing is the support organization manual. This is a document that our support organizations and boosters have really come to like. I noticed it needed a little bit of refreshing. The last version, or the most recent version I had, I think was updated in 2020 or 2021. So it needed some sprucing up. No substantive changes, but you have the red line version available for you there as well. Tonight is just a deliberation and first read.
And
The
I think
actual,
if you just pause on that for a minute.
yep,
I think that's an important document, right? Because it just helps give, whether it's the boosters or whatever the organization is, some guidance on how to properly run their organization. Because as much as they're softly affiliated with us, they kind of run independently, except we can help give them guidance on how to do it correctly, I think is great. So I
Yep.
think, congrats to you and the treasurers and the rest of the office on
yep.
giving
Thank
the
you.
folks the appropriate guidance so that they can do the right thing instead of letting it go astray and then have to pull it back in.
Yeah, a lot of our booster officers are just parents, moms and dads who out of the goodness of their own heart have decided to step up and do this. And a lot of times, they're looking for that guidance. They want to do a good job, but it's not their day job. So when we do this, it's very helpful, yes. So the actual action items tonight, recommend the approval of the amended, updated 403B plan. That was triggered by, if you remember, we passed an MOU at the last board meeting for our transportation department. So our transportation department is now another entity that is, their severance pay is paid as an employer contribution to a 403B. This is what allows that to happen, the execution of this document. July 23rd board financials, minutes from August 10th, and a revised set of minutes from April 25th. We found basically a ministerial error that we needed to correct, and so that's being corrected. And the following donations, as you can see in front of you, several monetary donations, and then contributions in kind where projects have been completed, facilities projects that are being formally recommended that the Board of Education accept those donations. Questions?
I guess one question, so back to the millage on debt service. If we were to hold the millage steady, what would the cost to the taxpayer be? I mean, it's hard to say on average, but it's, because the way we do it is we let the millage float and we collect the dollars, but if you flipped it and said, no, we're gonna collect the millage that we said we're gonna collect, just roughly, how much would that be?
It's actually pretty spot-on calculation. 1 mil on $100,000 in market value is a $35 savings. So if you own a $500,000 home, if I can do my math real quick, 535s are, what's that, $175?
Yeah.
So that is a direct savings. So yeah, and I appreciate the flexibility on not being spot on, but
Yeah.
that one's actually pretty straightforward. 1 less mill of any type is going to result in a $35 per $100,000 of value. Now, what's also happening is you have other moving pieces. That one individual home may be going from $500,000 to $700,000, but what I would say is that mill just saved you that delta between those two as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it is a direct benefit. And then what is so wonderful is that any issue we run in March can still be our no new millage strategy. So that is kind of a silver lining to, I know there's been a lot of talk in the community about the increase in value.
Yeah.
And we've talked a lot with this group about it does not mean dollar for dollar. A 35% increase, as we've seen, will be about a 6 to 7% increase for a resident of this district. And now with this mill being cut, it'll actually be even less than that.
Great, thank you.
Okay.
Anything else? Okay, good.
Yes, sir.
All right, we'll give you a minute to sit down, and we'll go to public participation if we have any.
Nothing.
You do not have any? Okay, good, that's easy. All right, well, right, so you're up, treasure action items. Would you Is that the treasure actually?
So you have, as I just reviewed, items A through E, which would be approved by F, and then just a first read tonight, item G of the booster manual.
Okay, do I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Second. Any discussion on the treasure action items? All right, seeing none, please call the roll.
Was the second Dr. Wise or?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Dr. Wallach?
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien?
Yes.
Mr. Lester?
Yes.
Dr. Daberco?
Yes.
Dr. Wise?
Yes.
All right, Mr. Meyer, the superintendent action.
Yes, thank you. I'd like to present superintendent action items A through D for approval.
Could I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion on the superintendent action items? All right, seeing none, please call the roll.
Mr. O'Brien?
Yes.
Mr. Lester?
Yes.
Dr. Daberco?
Yes.
Dr. Wise?
Yes.
Dr. Wallach?
Yes.
All right, I will now entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
And we'll come back, say
Sorry.
September 7th.
Mm-hmm.
So can I have a motion, please?
7?
7th? September 7th?
Yes.
Yeah.
What?
We can
Thought it was
discuss
the
which
6th.
day.
So moved.
So, thank you. I said the wrong date. Right. Do I have, I have a
Second.
motion, second? Any discussion on the motion to adjourn? All right, seeing none, please call the roll.
Mr. Lester?
Yes.
Dr. Daberco?
Yes.
Dr. Wise?
Yes.
Dr. Wallach?
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien?
Yes, we are adjourned.